Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. So the vast majority of the content that I make for Guild Wars is actually about Guild Wars 2 inside of the game, but today I'd like to just focus on some of the websites that I most frequent when I'm trying to fact check myself or figure out how to get something in the game that I've never gotten before. Now obviously YouTube and channels like this one are great sources of information, or at least I'd like to think that I put out some okay content when it comes to helping you guys get stuff. But I am certainly not the only source, so let's go through, in no particular order, some of the websites that I think you guys would find most helpful. So first up, we have the Guild Wars 2 Wikipedia. Now I know for the vast majority of people this is a no-brainer, but there are a fair amount of players who Guild Wars 2 is their first MMO, maybe it's even their first game that required a Wikipedia. Some games you could just play through straight and it's not really that difficult or confusing, but Guild Wars 2 has a lot of information to take in, so it could be a bit overwhelming in the beginning. Like most Wikipedia pages, there's a search field. You can look based on the category of what you're trying to look for, but what I do most of the time is type GW2 into Google, followed by whatever it is that I'm trying to learn more about. The first few results are almost always the Guild Wars 2 wiki, so if you don't want to search through the Wikipedia itself, you could just Google some information and you'll probably end up there anyway. Next up, I've definitely plugged this one enough, but I'm going to continue to plug it because I think it's a great resource. That would be guildwars2craft.net. Now, for the most part, this is really only going to be a resource for people who are into crafting, especially if you just want to do it very quickly. But I will say that crafting does a fair amount of character levels while you're still leveling, so I would highly recommend giving this site a look if that's something you think that you'd be interested in. Simply just click on the craft that you'd like to learn, and it'll break down about how much gold it's going to take in order to max that craft out. Now that's assuming you don't have any of the items that are listed in the long list of crafts that you'll need in order to get your 400 or 500, depending on what you're going for. So it's a good idea to always check your bank to make sure that you don't have any of these materials on hand before you go buying them off the trade post again. These guides are separated into whether or not you want to use heart quests you've completed as vendors for some of the items. And these recipes are always updated to be the most efficient based on the current prices on the trading post for all items in Guild Wars 2. Moving away from crafting, we have Delphi.net. This is a fantastic resource for everything that is coming into the game and everything that used to be in the game. These are written guides that are going to step-by-step break down how you're going to do everything, and they're almost always updated right away. So if you'd prefer to maybe just read for yourself how to do some of the things in Guild Wars 2, feel free to not watch my videos, as the vast majority of the same information can be found here as well. Personally, I always like to learn from guides where someone's walking you through it, and that's why I decided to do a video guide channel where I actually talk you through each of the steps. But if written guides are more your type of thing, I completely understand, as we all learn differently, and Delphi.net is a one-stop shop for the majority of the information you'll need in Guild Wars 2. Delphi keeps this regularly updated and has a fantastic archive of basically everything that happened in this game, so even if you're just bored, give it a look. After that, we have some kind of phone-in links, I'll be honest, but I still think there's a little bit of a reason to check these out, and that would be the Guild Wars 2 Facebook and Twitter account. And I only say this because more recently, they have posted some kind of teaser trailers to these accounts that I'm pretty sure did not end up on YouTube. Now, if you follow your favorite content creator on any given topic for Guild Wars 2, you're probably going to see this information anyway, but if you'd like to see it for yourself, or if you'd like to interact with some of the people in the community, I'd say probably Twitter as my number one and Facebook as a backup for the Guild Wars 2 accounts are not entirely essential, but you could probably just like these pages, follow these pages, whatever, and sort of forget about them until the next big content release. Moving on to the no-brainer link that you may want to check from time to time, you may want to head over to guildwars2.com. Now, this site is not exactly a well of information on the game, but they do have a news section to show you when new things are coming into the game. Anytime there's an official post, they tend to post it here as well. You can look through the patch notes if you'd like, and you'll also have access to the Guild Wars 2 official forums. This, like other forums for Guild Wars 2, is more of a place to talk with other players, but you might see a developer response from time to time depending on what you guys are talking about. Similarly, if you're just looking for a Guild Wars 2 forum, you could check out the Guild Wars 2 subreddit, and here you can pretty much expect a little bit of everything. You'll have players asking questions about the game and typically getting some answers, so if that's something you're looking for, maybe consider this. Additionally, you will find a fair amount of people just talking about aspects of the game, whether it's lore, where the story's going, changes they would like to see. And if you're like me and you spend a little bit too much time lurking on the subreddit, you'll see a fair amount of people whining as well. So if you're going to use the Guild Wars 2 subreddit, I would highly recommend checking it out. Just be sure not to hang out there long enough to become one of the more toxic people in this otherwise pretty friendly community. Next up, if you have a real interest in just the trading post, how prices fluctuate, and maybe just how much something is worth or cost depending on what you're going for, you may want to check out guildwars2tp.com. There are several alternative sites like this that you can find out there, so you'll just have to search around until you find one you like. Personally, I use this one or a site called Guild Wars 2 Spidey to either price check things or just kind of look around to see how I might be able to make a little bit of gold. Now, you will be able to see the prices of certain items on sites like the guildwars2crafts.net that I mentioned earlier, as well as the Wikipedia, but if you want to look through every item in the game, I highly recommend sites like these. And lastly, and probably the most effective tool or site that you could use for Guild Wars 2 is Guild Wars 2 Efficiency. Now, there is going to be a little bit of a guide here because there is some work you have to do to get this all set up. It's not very hard, guys, so don't worry about that. But essentially, Guild Wars 2 Efficiency is a site where you can punch in your account information, so to speak, and you'll gain access to your account outside of your account. This meaning that you're going to be able to see how much your account is worth in gold. You can see how many achievements that you've got, how it compares to other people who use the same website. Again, you can look at some of the trading post prices here. Basically, anything about this game, or at least how it pertains to your specific account, can be looked up and reviewed here, and that's why, to me at least, this is one of the best resources in the whole of the community. While you first start off in Guild Wars 2, you're focused on leveling and learning things about the game, but there will come a day where you know the vast majority of what you need to know, and Guild Wars 2 as a game gives you the freedom to do whatever you want for the most part, but if you need some goals, some real goals to continue playing this game, this site can give you those goals, especially if you're just sitting around waiting on a new content release because you've already completed everything else and you're uninterested in playing anything other than what you've currently played. This is a great way to find out whether or not maybe there's another aspect of Guild Wars 2 you've never looked into that might interest you. Alright, so to get Guild Wars 2 Efficiency set up for yourself, you're going to need two websites. Firstly, of course, you're going to need Guild Wars 2 Efficiency, and in a new tab, I would open up guildwars2.com. On the Guild Wars 2 homepage, you should go over to Services and My Account. A new tab should open up, and you'll need to type in your regular Guild Wars 2 credentials. Once you log in, head over to the right-hand side of the screen where you see Applications, and it's here that you should see a code for something called the API. Don't worry about the API so much. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know exactly how this works, I just know that it does. So, with that in mind, copy that code and head back to Guild Wars 2 Efficiency. Now, I didn't say this before, and if you haven't, please make an account at Guild Wars 2 Efficiency before punching your code in, otherwise you may have to do this a second time. So after you have an account, in the upper right-hand side of the screen, you should see API keys. Click on that and just paste in that API key you got off the Guild Wars 2 homepage. And that, guys, is all there is to getting this set up, and it's a fantastic tool, so I hope you guys enjoy yourselves. But anyway, guys, this is pretty much it. I just wanted to go through some of the links that I use most frequently that might be beneficial to you guys out there, especially if you're just starting out. If I left anything out here, which I probably did, feel free to include those in the comments, and in addition to the links that I'll be leaving for each one of these sites, I will add anything else that you guys think is helpful. But anyway, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.